All right. Let's do it. So people have been asking me for a video on EU information. What to do when EU launches. So we're going to go over basically the notes I've made when I was playing the EU beta and just from things that I know work really well. I'm going to give you some strategies on what you can do early on to make yourself stand out ahead of the pack, because everyone's going to be rushing to get power. And so we're going to go over chat's distracting me. What you can do to get ahead of the pack. So, all right. Starting information. There are a couple things they put out on the forums that are like kind of like going to be special cases for when the server starts. I think I have it open in front of me, but I made some notes here. So where is it? Yep. All right. So the world will be shrunk. They're not opening several things. For example, the Royal Continent's having 11 areas locked. The Black Zone has, it looked like 30 to 40 areas blocked. I don't know. There's a lot of tiles on the list. So there will be a lot of the Black Zone shrunk to kind of force everyone into one tight space. They said they were going to open it up after 8 days. So after 8 days, it's going to open up and we should have the whole map available. The black market will build slowly. So if you guys saw clips and videos of the East launch and people making billions on the black market, and your strategy is to rush to the black market with some T5, T6, 7 gear, don't do that. It's not going to work. It didn't work in the beta. It won't work in the launch. They're making it build slowly. So those things won't be sold immediately. To give you some information on when things will be bought, I didn't get a black market drop for 2 days. And I'm talking T4s. So when I was rushing on the beta, killing mobs left and right all day, no drops, 0 black market drops. So don't rush the black market immediately hoping to make a massive amount of money right off the start. It's not the way because, yeah, it's not going to be purchasing gear very quickly. So I would recommend against that strategy. System plots will be added. They said by need, by necessity. I am assuming this means if all the plots get bought and the owners lock it from crafting, I bet they'll open up system plots or they'll just be there by the start. The beta had them. I'm guessing that if people put them down, I think the 1,000 max tax rule is in effect. If they put them down and just lock them, make them private, that's when they'll probably put the system plots down. So that's my guess there. They said they're going to buy the system plots right off the bat with a GM account, and they'll put crafting stations there as necessary. Food and mules. It was carrot soup, bean salad for crafting, and mules will be available. Food, I think said would be 500 silver. Mules are going to be 5,000 silver, and they'll be available to purchase from the system. So you go to the market, you can buy mules and food to feed your plots. So let's go over. That's all the information they gave us as far as like here's the special conditions for when the server's starting. I want to go over strategies for server start. So first thing I think you want to do is immediately get silver. Fastest way to do this is to get T3 gear as quick as you can. Buy it from other players. Make it yourself. I'm going to talk about what you do for crafting right off the bat. But let's talk about silver first. So silver and fame, you're going to grab a T3 set and get to the black zone. You can go straight into a mist. You can take the mobs in the mist. They're not that hard. They are a little difficult. Like, don't go with just... If you don't know what you're doing, you might be able to pull this off. But there should be mobs for you to handle. It'll get you fame very quickly. I would recommend also working on getting your T4 set as quick as possible. I was able to get my T4 set from other players in pretty short time because people were rushing it. Now, the launch is going to be a little bit slower. I would bet that T4 isn't available for a couple hours on the market. Maybe like 6 hours, potentially. Might just be getting bought out immediately. So part of your strat might be to get... let me think. If you're alone, if you're completely solo, you might just want to focus on getting like your cloth crafting to T4 and then just go the full cloth set or something like that. If you have buddies, I'm going to talk about what you want to do with your buddies to get your crafting done. But if you're alone, you may want to consider early on getting into T4 just so you can craft your own set. But the way to get silver and fame quickly is open world mobs, solo miss, and Roads of Avalon. Roads of Avalon's a little tougher. So if you're really not confident, don't go to the roads. because they're tougher mobs. But solo miss and open world mobs will give you the silver you need to purchase stuff early on. And because you'll be getting raw silver, you'll pretty much have your control of whether you want to buy something on the market. Your silver is going to be worth a lot more than what others that are roaming around the yellow zone can muster. So you'll be able to actually buy your gear pretty early. In the first few hours of the crystal launch, that won't be the case. But if you're seeing this video and you're jumping in on the 3rd day or the 4th day or free to play launch, which I think is 5 days in, you'll have no trouble finding T4 stuff. So get out, get some silver, and buy gear, right? We're going to go over gathering and crafting strats separate here. So if you're someone that doesn't like to gather and craft, that's what you do. I wouldn't recommend anything else. Don't do open world dungeons like the solo dungeons. I would recommend against corrupted dungeons. I'd recommend against, and this is just early on stuff. I mean, solo dungeons suck anyway. But if you are solo, stick to those. Duo is the exact same. So if you have a buddy you're going in with, open world mobs, duo miss, and Roads of Avalon. All very good things. Also, I should mention, Roads chests kind of suck. So when I say Roads, I mean the open world mobs for fame. The Roads chests without the black market drops, they're kind of terrible. So be aware. Don't think you're just going to go into the Roads, open green chest after green chest, and profit. They're pretty bad. So keep that in mind. I think open world mobs are better. And yeah, the Roads chests are kind of doo-doo. All right. 4 to 10 players. If you're going in with a group and you just want to make raw silver, static dungeons, Roads of Avalon, and what's it called? Static dungeons, roads. I wrote it down, I thought, but I guess I didn't. What I wrote it. Tracking. 4-player tracking is very good. You can do the quarries for raw money. You can do the actual tracking for the artifacts, which are going to be worth a lot for a very long time. So if you have 4 people and you're pretty efficient at killing PvE, do some tracking. You can open chests. You can kill spiders. You can make a lot of money out in the open world with 4 to 10 players. So I'd recommend open world doing that, static dungeons, or Roads of Avalon. That's pretty much it. That's your strategy for raw silver. Okay. Anything else is kind of a waste of time, in my opinion. There might be something I've missed, but those are the best. I wouldn't say waste of time. I would say less profitable. All right. Let's move on. So, gathering strats. If you're going to gather, you want to do 1, 2, or 3 gathering things. If you're trying to race to T8, just focus on 1. Just get to, you can go to the black zone, or I would start obviously in the blue zone. This is just some typical gathering information, but if you can only gather tier 5, don't go to a tier 6 zone. It's a waste of time. Stay in the tier 5 and under zones. If you can only gather tier 4, stay in the tier 4 and under zones. If everything gets too crowded, go into the black zone, find an isolated place. The world areas with like hide or this, fiber, those places are great for just faming up. It usually is like endless T6 nodes all in a row, stuff like that. That's where you get your raw fame a lot of times. The Roads of Avalon is also a great place to gather, but it can be a little hit or miss. The aspect mobs in there are crazy good. The elite mobs for gathering are great for leveling up gathering. So, but the big thing is focus on 1, 2, or 3 types of gathering. If you want to really spread yourself and go with 3, it is kind of slower and less profitable sometimes, but recommend if doing that, stick to the zone that has all 3 you're going to do. Don't do 6. Waste of time off the start. If you want to make good money, do 1. 2 and 3 are also acceptable, I think. For example, if you want to do 3 and you're going to stick to mostly swamp areas, do fiber, hide, and trees. I almost forgot what the third one was. And don't do any others. And stick to swamp areas. Wherever you go, stick to swamp areas, right? Because it'll have all 3 of those things you need or that you can do. Let's move on. And fishing? Fishing, I think it's probably decent. That's just something on preference, I think. All right. I'll answer questions in a minute. Let me just finish this because I don't want to do too much editing on this video. We're crunched for time. We're live right now, and we're gonna probably stay live until you launch. So let's get this thing done real quick. Crafting strats. Here's a couple things you want to do. So with crafting, there's the general advice. Pick one thing, do one thing, right? That's just generally good advice for crafting. One of the more advanced strats you can do right off the bat, if you're gonna be there on day 1 with a crystal pack, and you have especially if you have a couple friends, you can get plots in the cities, right? That's going to be good for crafting for yourself, right? Now, some people look at plots as like a money-making strat. It can do that. I bought a plot in the beta. I rushed doing silver on my own. I bought one of the plots in Martlock, and I was charging people to use it as more of an experiment. It did come out profitable. But one of the big things you can do with a plot is endlessly craft with resource return and no tax. That's a very big advantage over the rest of the population. So if you can, one of the biggest strats that you can do, especially with a group, is silver making as fast as possible. T4 sets, get out into the mist, get onto the black zone, pump raw silver, and then purchase a plot, and then you all focus something different on that plot. For example, you get a mage tower. One of you does frost stabs, one of you does fire stabs, one of you does arcane stabs, one of you does cloth helmets, one of you does cloth robes, right? Everyone picks one thing, and you all get tax-free crafting on that plot. Endless, tax-free. You will be able to craft without focus at a profit, right? So you can literally just watch the market and craft as much as you want without it. You get tons of money. And then of course, if you're crafting one thing, you will be already ahead of the game with focus when you want to use your focus for crafting. But yeah, buying a plot and then utilizing it yourself is a huge, good strategy for getting crafting level. So choose to do that if you want to. That is a very sweaty strat. You kind of got to be there day one to be able to pull this off. If you're not there day one, I noticed that the Brazilian plots went very slowly. It's probably the same for the Carleon plots. So you could go with the strategy of buying one of those and focusing on that. For example, shapeshifting in Carleon, potions in Brazilian. I think it's capes and bags and whatnot in Brazilian, but that will come with a strategy of hauling back and forth to the main cities to move your bulk goods. But those are both good ideas. Anyways, moving on. If you aren't there day one, and even if you are there day one, as soon as hideout crafting becomes available, people are putting hideouts down. That is the go-to. That is how you're going to make a lot of money. People who have access to hideouts in the black zone and the bonuses that provides, huge. So try and focus on that for your first few weeks, I'd say, especially if you have a guild. Try and get a hideout somewhere, however you can, or access to a hideout with crafting. And yeah, you can actually make a ton of money with that. So focus on that. Anyways, one more thing about crafting. Artifacts. You can get runes, souls, relics, roll those into artifacts at the foundry, and then make that into artifact gear. For example, if you're working on fire stabs, gamble or purchase from others the artifacts and make the artifact gear, because people will overpay off the start for like, I want to play wildfire. Those wildfire staffs are going to be way overpriced because not a lot of people are crafting them. So make artifact gear is a really good piece of advice early on. You can basically just turn a pretty big profit by grabbing the stuff necessary and making the goods. People will pay a lot extra than what the materials are worth early on. All right. Investing strats. I don't really want to go over investing strats, but there's a side note. There are things you can invest in, and I don't like, this is one of those weird things where if you talk about it, it doesn't even work. But use your brain. There are ways to make some money with investing strats. I think in the beta, I noticed things like sigils skyrocketing after a few days. They became really hard to get. I don't know if that'll be the case on launch, but I think it will. Something like that. That's the one thing that I noticed that was high. But be careful with your investing. Obviously, it can go south. I think books, tomes, you could probably put all your money into tomes and they will go up because some of those tomes were selling for 3K. Try and look at what the tomes are worth on most servers or what things are worth on the regular servers. And you can kind of gauge on whether or not that thing will go up or not, right? But yeah, I want to talk about farming strats as well. Farming strats. Everyone was doing oxes on the beta, and oxes were really high priced on day one or day two. And I saw some videos showing that you should farm oxes and that they won't be available. They hard tanked on like day 3 and 4. Hard tanked. It was a money loss farming oxes on like day 5. So be careful with what you focus on and maybe spread yourself, your strategy wise, amongst different things. And I did notice that horses were consistently better, and it makes sense. Horses are usually used in PvP and they get trashed. Consistent flow of goods is needed. So horses might be your more like consistent thing for if you're going to do mount raising, right? But yeah, I noticed a lot of other things were really valuable at the start, like farming for potions and food. That stuff is very needed, and it looked like it was very profitable off the bat. So Just pick something and work on it, really. Talking a lot. Segueing into islands. Throw your money into your island early on. So all the money that you get, this is for solo strat and for even group strat. You want to focus on your island pretty hard. Upgrade it to max, plot size. Put a bunch of things farming wise. Farming is just simply profitable off the start. So try and invest your money into farming as quick as you can. Put some stuff down there, grow things, raise things, whatever you're going to do. Be careful with your money, but that's a pretty good investment right off the bat. So make sure to do that. Now, I do want to mention group strats. This is something that if you're with a group and you're like, we're 10 guys or 5 guys, how do we get ourselves off the ground really soon? Do we try and buy a plot? Do we just use people's plots that they place? Do we buy a guild island? Don't. Okay, so this is what you do, because this is money-wise what the fastest thing you can do is. Each buy your own personal island. It's 10k silver, okay? With that 10k silver, you get 1 plot. Use that plot on one unique thing amongst your group. One guy does stone. One guy does leather. One guy does lumber. Maybe you have a plot in the city that you can use, so don't do that one. Whatever. Plan it out. One guy does the mage tower, right? And then use that to get your tier 4 stuff day 1 or whatever. This is mostly for the crystal guys, because I think at free-to-play launch, there'll be plenty of crafting available. But, yeah, if you're looking to, how do we get our stuff crafted right away? Personal island, 1 plot apiece, okay? And then just make sure you coordinate, give each other access, right? That's the best way to do it right off the bat. There's no better way. The guild island is expensive. It's like 250k. And then it only gets 1 plot or something. You need to expand it. It's like a mill or something. I can't remember the price, but I remember going, this is probably the way to do it. It's not. Each get your personal island, do 1 plot. It's the fastest and cheapest way to do it. And the money required adds up very quickly. So even if you're pooling, trying to get your guild island set up it's just not a day 1 thing. Day 1 thing is personal island, 1 plot. All right. That's pretty much everything. I think I've covered most of the things that I wanted to talk about. I've been watching chat. I see you guys commenting things. Investing gold is not a bad strategy. Gold should rise. But again, anything you invest in, just watch what the typical prices are on the other servers. This server will mimic those servers. But this is a lot of advice that I've packed in. I hope it was useful. I know I'm just sitting here talking, and this is going to be a pretty low effort video thrown out on the YouTube because I don't have time to edit it. We've just been really busy. But I do have the information that I've gathered, part of my strategies, and I wanted to throw it out for people so that they can strategize better if they want to. And if they want my opinion, I got tons of people asking me, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? These are my notes. So that's it, guys. Thank you for watching. I hope this was useful to you. And if it was, consider subscribing or leave it a like. I'd appreciate it. And comment on the video if I missed anything. Yeah. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you around.